Hi everybody, PincheAls Garage here with Ray Ray. We're getting ready to assemble the block tonight. It's 11 o'clock and we're getting ready to start, building our motor and the bottom end actually. So stay tuned because this is PincheAls Garage.
Yeah!
Alright everybody, to start off tonight for your bottom of the engine block assembly, first things first, with some part cleaner, make sure that the bottom crank, caps, you guys want to call them, the lower ones, are dry and oil free. The reason why, you want to make sure that when your new bearings go on, they don't go on with any lubrication. These have to be very dry because if not, you can actually have a bearing spin. So let's get started. Now the first thing you're going to notice here, you'll see there's an oil feed tube here on all 5 of them. You'll notice that the bearing itself has a hole right here as well, and you'll see there's a notch on every single one. This is just telling you that there's only one way that this bearing can go in. So pretty much line it up with the notch down here below, push down, and that's it. Make sure that it's flat on both sides and you don't have a groove, and you're good. If you dropped off your engine to the machine shop, they should have taken out the oil squirters. You need to put those back in, and those go down at 20 foot-pounds, okay?
Before the crank.
Yeah, before you put the crank on, yeah, because you can yeah, you can mess some stuff up. So, pre-warning for everybody coming online right now. And there's 5 in total. Alright. Make sure there's no lip on any of them.
Don't give me no lip.
Exactly. Don't you be getting nobody no lip. Boy. Okay. Next, we're going to actually do some assembly lube. Only on the outer grooves, not in the groove.
Very lightly.
Yeah.
Very lightly.
If you're asking what assembly lube we're using Lucas semi-synthetic lube. This is just preventing your engine to start with pretty much dry. You don't ever want to have a dry start, because you're going to end up redoing all of this again, and it's not cheap. So now with bearings installed, it's now to bring the crank over. This is the back side, this is the front side of the motor. So always remember to, if you can, have a buddy with you, that way we can drop the crank in evenly from both sides. Got it? Okay, now with the crank pretty much installed right here, the next part is to To get the center bearing first, that one has what we call thrust washers, which are these guys. Yep, and they only go in one way, so we'll show you. So the way that the crank is installed and the bearings are going in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the numbers are facing this way. So you'll see there's a thrust washer and one on the other side. Now you see how those are positioned. Now take one off and you put it inside here. This is number 1, 2, and 3. And you have to move the crank over a little bit to get it to actually settle. There you go. Now this gives you, you'll see how I can actually wiggle them left and right. It's very important that you know that, because that bearing has to be pushed in, and then you're going to have to move them left and right with a little pick. That way you can line them up correctly. The main cap bolts are not reusable, just so you know. And then the next thing is, get yourself a bearing on here, and these only go on one way. Just like the lower bearings, the top ones are pretty much the same thing. They have a little notch.
You'll notice the notch only allows it to go on one way.
Line it up and push down. Try to prevent as much as you can to touch the inside and the bottom of the bearing. You can touch this. This is okay. Just the other side. You don't want any oils or anything on that. Once you have that in there, it should be seating nice. And then you'll see the number.
Wait, where's the lube at? Could have thrown a little bit on that, just a tiny bit.
Right there. You're going to put it on the bearing?
No, I can just put it on here. It'll spread out.
So put this down, and then it's going to be hard to see, but you're going to need to line up that pin on that side.
You line up the notches.
There. You know, it should drop down a little bit for you. It's not going to drop down all the way, but it'll drop down. And then your bolts only hand tight. Do not torque these down by hand, with a ratchet at all. These are size 18s, just as a heads up. Just hand tight, nothing special.
I don't remember if we mentioned it before, but these bolts are a one-time use only. These are stretch bolts, so if you ever have to do this, make sure you replace these bolts with brand new ones.
Every time. And you can go pretty far down by yourself by hand. Like I'm actually going to the bottom.
Yeah, you're almost over down.
Yeah. And this is all by hand. And then you have to tighten left and right, left and right. You can't just go one and all the way down and the other side, because what can happen is that the bearing can go sideways and then crush itself and then cause a bigger problem.
The goal is to try to get the cap down as evenly as you can.
Looks like we're all the way down.
Okay.
By hand. And then we have a Bentley manual, so it wants us to do.
I'm going to throw the other bearings in the caps.
Yeah, so on the manual it doesn't really tell you exactly in what order you should do it. Do the installation like any other gasket or any other multi-bolt installation, where you go from in, out, and then back out to in. Okay? Hand tightening. Do not torque anything down. And you clean these all off, right?
Yes.
Oh wait, I didn't put any lube on this one. So now with all the main bearings all the way down hand tightened, now it's time for the torque sequence. And it's going to be, we'll explain that in just a moment, but you want to go in, out, 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 out. And when you're done, just double check them, out, out, in, just like that. Once you have them torqued down, we'll give you guys a specific weight, and it's actually a quarter turns after you actually torque it down to a specific weight. So the torque spec for the rods, the rod caps, crank caps, or the main bearings,
Main bearing caps.
is 65 Newton meters or 48 pounds, 48 foot pounds, with a quarter turn. So if you make this like a pie, you literally just go a quarter. That's it. You're done. Don't go further. Don't loosen them and tighten them. Just, it's a one-time deal, guys. So if you did an oopsies, you need to buy a new bolt. These are one-time use bolts. So let's get it going. So it'd help if you had two people, so you can hold the block so it doesn't. And that's it. And then no.
I'm gonna do both of them because otherwise that it's flat.
Oh yeah.
Because we're already at spec.
48. And then where you're at, make sure you're straight, and you're gonna do a quarter turn, right there. Quarter turn. Torque down to spec. Next one, you go over here. Done. 48 foot-pounds. Done. Quarter turn.
Just move it back a little bit.
Hmm?
Back. Right there.
The block is turning.
Yeah, as I said, move it back. But
So now we're on this main bearing here. Done. And then with the breaker bar, quarter turn from where you're at. Try to make it as flat as possible.
that's better. Ready?
Go. So now 1, 2, 3. We're over here on number 4, and then over here number 5. That's what I hate about those.
I know.
You can never. I wish they make like a ratcheting breaker bar. I think they do make one, don't they?
Ready?
Go. Okay, that's number 4 done. Now we're down to number 5.
Number 1.
Or number 1 in this case, but the 5th bearing. Okay. Go. And you can see why these are one-time use bolts. Because we have to stretch the crap out of them. That's it. You can't do anything anymore with this, so if you messed up somewhere, go buy yourself some more bolts.
Some new bolts.
And you'll see the crank now like floats freely. That means everything's torqued down to spec now. So next are the pistons. Yeah, play.
Very minimal.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Because once it heats up and expands, it should set the way it's supposed to set. That's why we lube everything. Alright, now with that done, let's flip the engine around. Because pretty much the heart, that's 80% of your job for building your motor right there. The other...
Go this way. We're going to the top, right?
Yeah.
Alright, that's going to hit this. So.
Now you can see how shiny and smooth the head, actually the top of the engine is. That's very, very vital to a proper, pretty much build here, because your head gasket will actually set right and not leak or give you premature failure. And that's thanks because of Volkswagen Paradise. They're the guys who did all the work, and that's the videos you guys have been watching. We'll catch up, right? So now here comes the piston and rod assembly, and then piston and rod install. We're going to show you guys how to assemble a piston with a rod first. Got right here brand new integrated engineering rods, rifle drilled because we want them to have as much lubrication possible. So this is a daily driven car. We want rifling because the rifling allows more oil to hit the rod and provide better cooling and just less, I guess, problems with the rods over time. So if you ever pick up integrated engineering rods, make sure you rifle drill them. Best upgrade you'll get for any rod. For the entire set, it was $100 for me to have it drilled for all four, so not bad at all to increase the lifespan of your build. So we're going to show you what to do next. Alright everybody, on this segment of the your engine build, once you got the crank in, you got that done, we're actually going to show you your piston disassembly here. So, oh, we need more light. We need to turn that down. So you have 3 rings here on every piston. You have your compression ring, your oil scraper, and then your, what's the last one called? I guess the oiler? The oiler, yeah. Oil ring. So the way you take these off is the same way you put them back on, with a lot of being gentle with it.
Finesse.
Finesse,
Is the word.
yes. So the rings will spread out. These are the old pistons. I'm not reusing these pistons, just so you know. I'm just using this as demonstration. You literally just spread them open and then go in a circle, just like that, and that's one ring. And it's not very difficult. Grab a ring, pull it over, and literally just pull over. The oiler is one of the tricky ones because this one has a little spring in it, so sometimes you might have to take one ring out and then take the spring out afterwards. And it might be difficult to take off, but the same way you took it off is the same way it goes back on, okay guys? When you pop in your new ones. And those are all 3 removed. Now, if you're going to reuse your pistons like I did, then what you're going to need to do is clean up all the carbon on here, inside of here. Get yourself some carb cleaner, brake cleaner spray. Soak them with some degreaser overnight, and then when you're done, here's your end result. I mean, night and day. I'm not going to say they're perfect, but holy crap, it is a night and day difference. Those are the other pistons that I got from a friend of mine. So you just scrape the inside of this. Don't scrape hard, just enough to remove the carbon. Once you got that, clean everything else off. The last part for the removal is the actual retention ring right here. And there's only one way you can get that out, because there's one over here that doesn't come out, and there's one that actually does come out. With a nice pick, go in here, and you're literally just going to stab it, and then just pry it out. You'll see that little ring pops right out. Done. Now what you're going to do on the opposite side, you're going to just push into it, just like that. Try to all the way through, and you're done. The piston and the rod are completely separated. The next thing you guys are going to need to do is double check your wrist pin here. Make sure it's not worn or any gashes on it. If it looks really clean and smooth, you can reuse them. Just clean the inside and out as clean as you can, smooth as possible. Once that's done, set it aside, and then assemble your after you clean your pistons, assemble them with new rings. So that's the next procedure we're going to show you, is putting in your piston rings on your freshly cleaned pistons. First thing you need to do is soak them in oil. You want to soak the inside of this as best you can in oil, because you want to get at least a very, very smooth surface, slippery surface, so when you put the ring on, it slides in nicely. Be very careful when you're unboxing your piston rings, because they do come in very like nicely packaged and very safely packaged, for one reason, because they are very delicate. So I'll show you guys the first one. Here's the oiler. You'll see it's two pieces. So what we're going to do is put in the actual lower ring in first, and you'll see I'm going to the bottom first and spread it around slowly. Try not to spread it too much, because you can damage the actual spring in here. Once you have it all nicely put back in there, you're going to get the actual ring that holds the oiler in place, and you're going to lay that one down first. Keep your finger on it and just spread it open slowly, and try to get it all the way over to the next ring. Now what's going to happen is that spring's going to want to pop out, so you're going to have to kind of finesse it all back in place. Once you have it back in place, you should see here that it's all in there. It should automatically line itself up inside. There should be nothing you need to do to open it, spread it out more. That's it. That's the first ring. Now here's the second one. This is a tricky ring. This second one has a groove in it. That groove has to be facing down, not up. If you have it faced up, you put it in wrong. It has to go down this way. This is the scraper, so this is what pretty much prevents oil from going to the next ring, so you don't burn oil. Same process. Try to get the bottom one in first, and then work your way around it slowly. This one's a little harder because it's a thicker ring, but you can get it around. Once you do that, make sure it spins in there nicely and freely. If you oiled it up, it should be pretty dang good. Just like that. Okay? The third one is a compression ring. This is the hardest one of the three, because it's one of the strongest ones. So you'll see here on your piston, try to get it over here first on this little notch. It should slide over. There you go. All three rings installed. We'll show you how to line them up correctly once you actually have the all completely assembled. For the wrist pin, we're going to show you that in a minute. But get all four pistons assembled, and then I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so the next part of your assembly for the engine is your rods and pistons, with your wrist pin and your retainer ring. So, researching online, there isn't really a direction that these rods go in. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the notch on the piston right here. That notch is what's going to be pretty much facing. Here, see, I'll show you guys here. Here's a notch, and the numbers are here on the actual piston, on the rods. So we want to make that notch and that number in conjunction. That way everything goes in the same direction, comes out the same direction. So the first thing you need to do If you guys watch on how you disassemble the pistons, they pretty much go back together the same exact way. Wrist pin in. These are kind of a pain in the rear because they're machined to the exact size or the exact diameter. So give it a little wiggle. And then there's that notch. There's the numbers. Match it. Try to slide it in. And make sure it goes all the way down. Now with a tiny little flathead screwdriver and the little ring, you're going to start by putting the ring in first into one of the notches in there. And then you'll notice that there's kind of like a little lip around that. You're going to use that to help put tension onto the spring, or the ring, I'm sorry, and kind of push it in. It's a pain because this thing goes in really tight. Couple cuss words. You'll get it in. There you go. Make sure once you get it in that it stays nice and snug all around. If it looks good, shake this really quick. Make sure this is spinning really good. There should be no play. Once that's done, one thing that IE doesn't tell you, and our joke here with Ray, is that they pre-torque the rod ends here. So to break loose these bolts, you're gonna have to put these in a vise. But we didn't want to damage the rods by like scratching them or anything, so we actually got a rag, wrapped it around it as thick as we can, put it in a vise, and then we were able to break them loose. They were on really tight, so just giving you guys a heads up on that. But that's how you assemble your pistons and your rods. Next off, we're actually going to mount the rod bearings and drop in the pistons into the actual block. So stay tuned.